Today, the topic from the speech is new global trading rules and economic integration to Asia-Pacific. I think the main purpose for my speech is analyzes how the Asian countries should respond to the evolving and changing new global trading rules in the process of the Asia-Pacific economic integration. The Asia-Pacific is the most prosperous, dynamic, and vibrant regions in the world. However, it is also the region which has the most complex and controversial integration pattern in the world. As the other economists mentioned, the effect of the spaghetti bowl in the world. In Asia, we have the Asian noodle bowl. Among all the proposals and initiatives and agreements, currently we have mainly two tracks of economic integration in Asia-Pacific. That is the RCEP and the TPP. In other words, they are the Asia track and the Asia-Pacific track. There are many differences between these two tracks in terms of the leading country, member scope, approach, to focus the items and the features. I think the most striking differences between the two tracks are that essentially RCEP is still essentially a traditional trade agreement focusing on the reduction of the on-border measures, where TPP is focusing on the regulatory coherence of the behind the border measures. If we look at this chart on comparison among the mega regional integration initiatives, we can apparently notice that the RCEP only covered two new trading rules. They are the trade facilitation and the competition policies, where TPP and the TTIP have been incorporating a number of behind the border measures. As we know, TPP has concluded and now is waiting for the ratification for the Congress in the member economies. So what are the impacts for the TPP on global trade governance, especially for the Asia-Pacific economic integration? First, I think the TPP will shape a benchmark for the 21st century global commercial rules. TPP, TTIP, and the plurilateral trade agreements, including TISA, ITA, GPA, EPA, will shape the future multilateral trading system or the framework. Second, the TPP are advocating and promoting some new trade concepts and ideologies, including free trade, fair trade, trade in value chain, social value in trade, trade in security, and trade for inclusiveness. The second, the TPP will shape the boundary of the trade policy from the traditionally market access to the regulatory coherence. They are called the WTO beyond issues or WTO extra issues, according to the classification called by the World Trade Report and created by the three European economists from the famous think tank, Bruegel in Brazil. There are altogether 38 WTO extra issues, so they are essentially what we talk about, the new trade rules. And finally, TPP will create a first move advantage in the Asia-Pacific economic integration. It is especially meaningful for United States. It helped the United States to achieve the strategy of the rebalance in Asia and regain the leadership of the trade alliance in Asia-Pacific. What are the challenges of the APEC economics, especially for Asia developing economies, to pursue the new trade rules. I think first, the country should reduce the tariff rates of intermediate goods to promote the regional economic integration, which evolved in the global and the regional value chains. We see from this chart that there are still many developing countries have deposit rooms to reduce significantly the intermediate goods. The second, reducing the service trade protection, particularly in the commercial presence and related FDI. Based on the service trade restriction index for the major APEC economies, we find ASEAN countries and China still have a higher tariff barriers or FDI restriction barriers in the telecommunications and professional services. The third, enhancing the coverage and the implementation ratios of domestic regulatory measures in RTA or FTAs. We use the WTO RTA FTA legal text database to estimate the coverage ratio and the implementation ratios, or here the legally enforceable ratios for the WTO extra provisions. So these two charts showed the comparison of these estimates among the ASEAN Asia-Pacific countries by the major economies and by major issues or areas. We could find that the developing countries in Asia-Pacific, including ASEAN countries and China, still have lower coverage ratios and the implementation ratios for the new trading rules. So there are many policy improvement rooms for these countries. What are relations between the RCEP and the TPP? I think here, based on the current circumstances, we have 4 scenarios. The worst scenarios is the last one, the competition. The scenario with the most possibilities is the scenario 2 or the scenario 3, especially for the scenario 3, complementarity. Under this scenario, RCEP and TPP will go forward independently, but there are keep 2 dual levels. Maybe they have the overlapping membership. The members in the RCEP may have the lower competence, and in the future they can upgrade or escalate to join the TPP if the trade and economic competence are improved. And finally, these 2 scenarios or 2 tracks may merge in the future. So finally, we need a new pan-Asia-Pacific new proposal, FTAP, Free Trade Agreement of Asia-Pacific. It is particularly important for converging currently existing mega FTA in East Asia and Asia-Pacific tracks. In the roadmap to realization of FTAP, I want to mention that it's very important to incorporate capacity building and the technological cooperation in this proposal. These are the main pillars to address the development issues in the Asia-Pacific. We also need the supportive, for the supportive elements. I think we have many discussions on the TPP with the One Road, One Belt. I think the TPP is a market-oriented, rule-based public goods in Asia-Pacific, while the One Road, One Belt proposed by Chinese government is the market development oriented, project-based the regional economic cooperation proposals. So we need the real political consolidation, as the Professor Lee mentioned, in the future economic integration, and also need the truly development proposal. Thank you very much.
Thank you.